performance of your container as well as your aerosol. Okay, so how you determine the performance of your container? The performance of your container is tested by aerosol wall discharge rate. You test the spray pattern. You are going to study the dosage with the metered wall. You are going to find out the net content. Okay, like you find out the net content of your tablet. So there should be no variation between tablet to tablet. In the similar manner, there should be no variation in your aerosol container to container. If it is a three-phase system, okay, where the foam is getting formed, then you are going to check the stability of your foam, whether it is a quick breaking foam or whether it is a stable foam, what kind of foam you require, okay, and whether that kind of foam is getting produced or not, that you're going to check. You're going to check the particle size. Particle size determination is very important. We have seen that if there is a particle size is too high in case of suspension, it is going to clog your wall. Not only that, particle size determination also determines how long your particle is going to travel. Once you are taking it through the once you are taking the meter dose inhalers, how much long the particle is going to travel, okay, that will be determined by your particle size. Okay, and finally we are going to test the leakage of your container. Going to the first one, that is the aerosol wall discharge rate. Okay, in this test what you are going to do is you are going to take the aerosol container, and this aerosol container, first you are going to weigh it. So this aerosol container, you weigh it, you find out the weight of. After finding out the weight of the container, the contents of the aerosol are discharged for a fixed period of time. So you spray the contents, you press the actuator for a fixed period of time. After pressing the actuator for a fixed period of time, then again you are going to weigh the container, and you are going to find out the amount of material that is getting removed from this container in this specific amount of time. That is why you call it as a rate. Whenever you call it as a rate, it is a fixed time. So how much amount of contents are getting are thrown out in a fixed amount of time, that you determine with your aerosol wall discharge rate. So once again, first you weigh you take the aerosol product, you weigh it, okay, then you discharge the contents for a given period of time, you again reweigh it, okay, and then you check the weight, okay, how much has been dispensed in that particular time. It is expressed in the terms of grams per second. So this much gram of material has been discharged from the container in this much of a second. Okay, so this determines your aerosol wall discharge rate. The second test that you carry out is the spray pattern. Now, if you remember, I have told you the spray pattern usually is the container. If you remember when I was talking about the manufacturing, each and every container is subjected to leak test, and each and every container is subjected to spraying. Okay, this spraying usually is serving two purposes. First, it determines the pattern, okay, of the spray. So these are the different patterns, okay, in which the spray is happening. Okay, so these are the different patterns. It not only talks about the patterns, it also gives you an idea. Okay, it also helps you to remove the propellant or the product concentrate if it is present inside the dip tube. Okay, so that now the container is ready for your patient to be taken. Okay, right? So the purpose of this test is to inspect the defects in the walls and spray pattern. So if the spray pattern is getting, if there is a different spray pattern, then you can always say that there is some defect in the wall. What does this test comprises of? It comprises of impingement of the test spray. So you spray the material onto the surface of a paper which is usually treated with talc and dye mixture. So you take the paper, on this paper you apply dye and talc. Okay, it is treated with dye and talc, and onto this what you do is you spray your material. Okay, you spray, and then you see what is the pattern that is getting observed. If the pattern is similar to what you are expecting, then there is no fault in the wall. If it is there, then there is some fault in the wall. Okay, two types of dyes are there. You have water soluble as well as you have oil soluble dyes. When the material falls onto this paper, okay, which is treated with dye and talc, this what you call that, this talc and dye, they become wet, and that's why they show this spray pattern. So you have water soluble dyes or you can have oil soluble dyes which are treated with your talc, depending upon your nature of your aerosol. So whatever is the nature of your aerosol, depending upon that, you are going to have a water soluble or you are going to have oil soluble dye. When this sprayed particles, the material that is from the aerosol, they strike onto the surface, okay, then what happens is gets converted into solution, right? Wherever they fall, wherever these aerosol particles they fall, they are going to get converted into the solution, and they get absorbed onto the paper, and you see the different patterns that are there. Okay, so it gives the spray pattern is then recorded. Now, as I told you, pharmaceuticals carry out 100% batch inspection each, and it is not that you take few samples and you test for the spray pattern. 100% batch inspection is carried out, okay, for the spray testing. Okay, and for metered wall aerosol, okay, the spray pattern are very important, because they are going to decide whether the medication it is going to reach to the patient's lungs or not, right? Hence, for metered dose aerosol, spray patterns also have this one more great advantage. This is about the spray pattern, where you spray the material onto the paper which is treated with dye and talc, and you check what are the types of what is the spray. Okay, the next out is with the where you determine the dosage of the metered wall. Okay, dosage of the metered wall is very important. So when you press the container once, amount of material is out of that container is very important. Okay, how much quantity of spray is coming out is very important, because that spray is going to have propellant, as well as it is going to have the active ingredient. So how much amount of active ingredient is coming out of that aerosol bottle, okay, that meter dose aerosol bottle, is very important, isn't it? So the objective is to see whether the reproducibility of dosage is there each time the wall is pressed. Okay, so whenever you press the wall, the same amount of material, the same amount of dose is coming out or not, that you check. That is one of the objective. Okay, then the second objective is whether the amount of medication is actually received by the patient or not. Okay, you want this medication to go to a certain part, isn't it? So whether that amount of material is reaching that certain part or not, that also is being checked with this test. Okay, now how do you do it? The method one that you use is, you usually dispense near about one or two doses. You press the container into the solvent material. So you have a solvent, okay, you have this meter dosed inhaler, you press it, you depress it, and this contents are taken inside the solvent material, right? And then you carry out the assay, and then you determine the active ingredient, okay, by carrying out the assay. So how much amount of active ingredient is going inside this solution, this solvent system, is being determined with the help of the assay. So that assay gives you the amount of active ingredient that is coming out of this metered inhaler, okay, sorry, metered ball or metered aerosol, MDI, is being determined. Okay. The second method is by calculating the difference of weight, okay, and dividing by the number of doses. So what you do is you press, like we did it, but like you are going to do in the net content, like we did earlier to find out the discharge rate. In this, we are going to press it. You are going to find out. You are going to give one or two pressings. Then you are going to find out the earlier weight. What was the earlier weight? Initial weight you are going to find out, and you are going to find out the weight that will give you the difference between the weight, and difference between the weight you are going to divide by the number of doses. That is test you the amount of as the aerosol that is coming out of the container. Okay, so these two tests are going to give you that method, that it's going to give you that information, but it is not going to give you the information that whether the dose is actually going is getting is been received by the patient or not, whether it is going to the lungs or not. If that is the place where you want the MDIs to dispense your, so that is not possible to be determined by this test. Okay, so what we are going to do is, so this is very difficult in order to find out. So what we do is we have an artificial respiratory system. So an artificial respiratory system is developed, okay, for this purpose, and we find out how much amount of material is actually received by the patient. Okay, whether the material is going to the lungs of the patient or not, this has been decided by your artificial respiratory system. As I said, it is a difficult, because the material, whether it is reaching is dispensed, is carried to the respiratory tract or not, is not been decided by these two methods. So you carry out with your artificial respiratory system. Okay, these are the tests that you carry out with your metered valves. Okay.